Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Gillette's Cavalcade of Sports is on the air. From Braves Field in Boston, Gillette presents the World Series. Good afternoon, baseball fans everywhere. This is Jim Britt with Mel Allen greeting you for the Gillette Safety Razor Company as the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Braves get ready for their crucial sixth game of the 1948 Championship Series. Gillette is on the air the year around with on-the-spot reports of leading sports events. Gillette also broadcasts the major boxing match of the week every Friday night. The rival pitchers for this sixth World Series game will be right-hander Bob Lemon of Cleveland and right-hander Bill Voiselle of the Braves. Lemon, you'll recall, won an 8-hitter by a 4-1 score here at Braves Field in the second game of the series to pull the Indians up even with Boston. Voiselle will be making his first series start, but during a 3 2/3 inning relief stint, he restricted Cleveland to a single hit, a single by Larry Doby. As a matter of fact, the relief pitching of all Billy Southworth's firemen in this series has been excellent. During 15 innings in relief roles, Voiselle, Barrett, Potter, Spahn have not allowed an earned run and have held the Indians to 4 hits while striking out 9 and walking only 1. In his victory earlier in the series in the second game, Lemon yielded 1 unearned run, but a successful pickoff play plus a costly Braves error cost the Braves at least 1 run and handed the Indians a score. But even so, Lemon's pitching deserved the victory. Yesterday, at a time when series observers were on the verge of calling this 1948 championship one of the most lackluster of modern times, the power hitters stole the show, or most of it. Paced by third baseman Bob Elliott, who became the second National League batter of World Series history to hit 2 home runs in a game. The only other National League performer to do it was Benny Koff of the Giants back in 1917. The Braves overpowered the Indians. At the same time that Elliott twice homered, Dale Mitchell, Jim Hegan of Cleveland, and Bill Salkeld of the Braves all hammered round trippers. Hegan's was the 3-run blow that sent Cleveland ahead, but the Braves, who had failed to make an impressive showing in previous contests, staged the big inning of the series with a 6-run explosion in the 7th to sew it up. I said that Bob Elliott and the power hitters came close to stealing the show, but left-hander Warren Spahn of Buffalo, New York, was the top defensive hero. His pitching was the best this series has produced. He allowed only 1 batter, manager Lou Boudreau, to reach base via the hit route on a double in the 8th. Then he struck out 5 of the last 6 men to face him to preserve the victory. In 5 2/3 innings on the mound, after Nels Potter had been driven out, Spahn gave up a walk and a hit. His assortment of fast and slow balls, he was using his curve, by the way, as a waste pitch, his assortment had the Indians guessing. Once, when, after taking a perfect fastball strike, Joe Gordon swung at a low slow ball and missed, he turned to the umpire and said, "I guessed wrong on that one, didn't I?" Bill Salkeld, the Boston catcher, said Spahn all but dispensed with his curveball. The pitch Cleveland batters had solved easily in the second series game in favor of a mixed-up assortment of fast and slow stuff. Feller, as was the case his first time out, couldn't win. Today, veteran observers are comparing his plight with that of the late, great Walter Johnson, who never did win a series game until the twilight of his career and then in a relief role. No recent series, I think, has seen so many former infielders and outfielders rack up mound victories. Bob Lemon was both an infielder and an outfielder at one time. Steve Gromack played the infield. John Sain once roamed the outfield. It may get to be a habit, this switching around, since last year John Lindell, a former pitcher, was one of the top heroes of the series. On the special trains between Cleveland and Boston last night, the main topic of conversation, however, was the crowd, the attendance at yesterday's game. When he learned that about 12,000 fans saw the game while standing around Mr. Veck's portable outfield fence, first baseman Earl Torgeson of the Braves said, "Imagine that, 12,000. Why, that's 6 times as many people as there are in my hometown of Snohomish, Washington." To the Cleveland club, yesterday's game was a bitter disappointment. The Indians consider Feller the same great performer everyone else does. The idea of his losing by any such lopsided score as 11-5, despite the fact that of the 11 Boston runs, only 7 were charged to Bob, seemed inconceivable. But when the Braves broke the 5-run tie on Torgeson's 7th inning single, scoring Holmes, even Bob Hope, one of the most rabid Indian rooters, turned to a companion and said, "There's the ball game. We'll never get a hit off that guy, Spahn. he has it today. Well, he did have it. Boudreau's double was the only hit. So the series now faces its sixth game, with the Braves back on home soil, set to face their second game conqueror, Bob Lemon. Boston seems even more baseball mad today than on the day the series opened. This morning's Boston Herald carried the streamer headline, "Welcome home, Braves. Everyone salutes you." Fire equipment, bands, and huge crowds had already jammed Trinity Place when the Braves special arrived early this morning. Yesterday afternoon, after the Braves' victory in Cleveland, when the rush seats went on sale here at the park, the rush of the crowds broke all bounds, and the sale had to be postponed in the interest of safety. Braves Field holds only half as many persons as the huge and beautiful Lakefront Stadium in Cleveland, so today's crowd will probably approximate 40,000. The World Series checks this year will be sizable. Don't think they won't. The players' share of the receipts amounts to more than $548,000. Of that amount, 70% is earmarked for these two World Series contenders. The winner's share of the 70%, which is 60%, will total more than $7,400 on the basis of a 31-share split as previously announced, which means that even the losers' individual World Series checks will approximate $5,300, and the Boston Red Sox, for having finished second in the American League this year, will doubtless receive a larger share than they did as the losers' end of the World Series of 1946. Few World Series checks have ever approximated this total. If you're statistical-minded, perhaps a breakdown of the runs, hits, errors of the clubs will interest you. In the 5 games already decided, the Braves hold a scoring edge of just a single run, 14-13. In hits, Boston has a 34-28 advantage, thanks to yesterday's slugfest. The Indians have been charged with the fewer errors, 3-6, and both teams have left 27 runners on base. 20 Indians have struck out, Walt Judnick 4 times. 18 Braves have gone down on strikes, Rickert 4 times. The Braves have walked a total of 11 times, the Indians 10 times. The individual batting leaders are Torgeson and Stanky of Boston, with averages of 429 and 308. For Cleveland, Doby tops the regulars with a mark of 278. Boudreau is 263. In team batting, Boston's mark is 218, Cleveland's 179. And now, before giving you the batting orders and the array of the umpires for this 6th World Series game, hats off to our northern neighbor, our good neighbor, Canada, which today in the Dominion is celebrating Thanksgiving Day. And Gillette, Mel, and I hope that their celebration is enhanced by a thrilling World Series broadcast. Here are the batting orders. For Cleveland, Mitchell, left field. Doby in right field. That's a change. Boudreau, shortstop. Gordon, second base. Keltner, third base. Tucker, Thurman Tucker, formerly of the White Sox, will be in center field. Robinson, first base. Hegan, the catcher. And the pitcher, right-hander Bob Lemon, with a season's record of 20 victories, 14 defeats, and a previous World Series record of 1 victory, an 8-hitter in which he yielded only 1 unearned run. For Boston, Holmes, right field. Dark, shortstop. Torgeson, first base. Elliott, third base. Rickert in left field. Salkeld, the catcher. Mike McCormick in center field. Stanky, second base. And Big Bill Voiselle of 96 South Carolina and Mustang, Oklahoma on the mound with a season's record of 13-13. Bill Summers of the American League at the plate. Bill Stewart of the National League at first base. Bill Grieve of the American League at second base. George Barr of the National League will be at third base. The left field foul umpire will be Babe Pinelli of the National League staff. The right field foul umpire will be American leaguer Joe Paparella. Out in center field at the moment, Baron Hugo's band is massed, ready to play the national anthem, and the colors will rise to the top of the staff under the supervision of the Marine Color Guard from the Marine Barracks of the Boston Naval Base. But first, the Braves bullpen pitchers and the Cleveland bullpen pitchers will be given an opportunity to clear the field. Bob Lemon is still warming up. Bill Voiselle is still warming up. Voiselle, incidentally, has pitched a total of 3 2/3 previous innings, has walked no one, has allowed no runs, has had no strikeouts, and has yielded just one single to Larry Doby. Today's crowd is likely to be the largest of the Boston series. The skies overhead are cloudy, overcast, but there is not a threat of rain. The Indians and the Braves both arrived on special trains this morning. They went through intensive fielding, batting practices, and in just a moment or two, the 6th game of the World Series will get underway. You're familiar with the way the pattern of the previous games has gone, of course. In the opening game, Boston defeated Bob Feller 1-0, Johnny Sain the winning pitcher. In the second game, Cleveland tied it up with a 4-1 victory, Lemon the winner, and Spahn the loser. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthem. And now, with the 6th World Series game about to get underway, let me again present my colleague and your play-by-play reporter for the first 4.5 innings, Mel Allen.
Hello there, everybody. Before the ball game does actually get underway, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
For the World Series and other top sporting events the year round, keep tuned to 710. This is WOR, New York.
Big Bill Voiselle on the hill for the Boston Braves, a right-hander who won 13 and lost 13 on the regular season. A boy from 96, South Carolina originally, who now lives in Mustang, Oklahoma. Big Bill had more than fair success against the Cleveland Indians in spring training games, and Billy Southworth is entrusting this strong-armed right-hander with the task of keeping the Braves in the World Series. Time is called just before we get underway. Bill Stewart, who's umpiring at first base, calls time. And Joe Paparella of the American League, who's stationed down the right field foul line, is over talking to the Boston Braves right fielder, Tommy Holmes, about something or other. I don't know just what it is. But now everything seems to be all right, and we're all set to go. Dale Mitchell will be leading off for the Cleveland Indians. Mitchell bats him left-handed. Voiselle looks in to get his sign from Bill Salkeld in the crouch back of the plate. Mitchell, who's had 3 out of 19 in the series, hitting at 158. First pitch, it's in there for a call strike. It was a fastball. Bill Voiselle whipped it in there just about knee-high. Bob Elliott goes over into the grass of the infield, picks up a piece of paper. He's laying in fairly close at third, looking for a bunt possibly. Outfield playing Mitchell around toward left. Here's your delivery, and it's high inside for ball 1. That evens up the count 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Boiselle gets that sign from Salkel. He's in no hurry. Dale Mitchell, left-hand batter. Here's the pitch. Mitchell takes inside now for ball 2. 2 balls, 1 strike. Larry Doby's on deck with Lou Boudreau to follow. Bill McKechnie coaching back at third base. Mel Harder back at first base. Bill Summers calling balls and strikes. Boiselle into the windup, delivers. Mitchell swings and lines one out into center field. Coming fast is the center fielder, Mike McCormick, who takes it for the out. Mitchell lines to Mike McCormick in center field. 1 away, and up to the plate now comes Larry Doby. Doby's had 5 out of 18 in the series, hitting at .278.
Right fielder.
Earl Torgeson's had 6 out of 14 for the most number of hits of anybody, with Larry Doby having 5, Mike McCormick having 5, and Lou Boudreau having 5, among others. There's a pitch into Doby. It's wide of the mark for ball 1. Doby stands far away from the plate. Bill Boiselle into the windup. Here's the pitch, and it's in there for a call strike. 1-1. Larry Doby got the only hit off Bill Boiselle the other day when Bill hurled his relief stint. Now the pitch. Doby takes fastball over for called strike 2. Fastball in there about letter high. Boiselle, went 3 2/3 innings in relief pitching. Allowed 1 hit, no runs, didn't walk anybody, didn't strike out anybody. The big right-handers into the windup. Here's the pitch. Doby takes curve inside. Ball 2, 2-2 the count. Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 away. Top half of the first inning, 6th game of the World Series, with the Cleveland Indians out in front in games 3-2. Boiselle delivers. Doby swings and lines one out over short into left field for a base hit. Taken out there by Marv Rickard on a couple of hops. He whips his throw into second. And Doby's on with a line single left field for the first hit of the 6th game of the World Series, and Doby's 6th of the Classic. And now here's Lou Boudreau coming up.
Boudreau, number 5, shortstop.
Lou bats him right-handed. The stretch by Boiselle. Here's the pitch. Lou takes it in the back. He's hitting the small of the back by a pitched ball. He's all right, however. Shakes it off. As a matter of fact, he reaches down and picks the ball up on the baselines. He trots on down to first base. The ball hit him right in the small of the back, just above the hips. And that moves Larry Doby down to second. Lou Boudreau
Joe Gordon.
hit by a pitched
number
ball.
4, second baseman.
And that moves Doby down to second and brings up Joe Gordon. Double barrel activity in the Braves bullpen. Red Barrett, a right-hander, is one of the men who's warming up. We're checking the identity of the other. Looks like it may be Vern Bickford. Now the pitch to Joe Gordon. Swung on and fouled back to the screen. Strike 1. As the Flash was going after that first pitch, hoping to drive it far and deep. The outfield playing Joe Gordon around toward left, playing him to pull. Infield shaded around toward third with Bob Elliott deep close to the line. Al Dark, the shortstop, deep over into the third base hole. Eddie Stanky over toward second base. They're in potential double play position if the opportunity should present itself. Runners lead off second and third. The stretch by Boiselle. Here's the pitch. Joe Gordon takes high. And the count is evened up now at 1-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. You got Kenny Keltner on deck. Bill McKechnie coaching at third. Mel Harder at first for Cleveland. A lot of room down that right field line. The outfield so far swung over toward left. Here's your pitch. Gordon takes high again. Ball 2, 2-1. William Boiselle, 6'3", 200-pounder, whose birthplace is listed as Greenwood, South Carolina, but who made 96 South Carolina quite famous. Pitches now to Joe Gordon, who started to swing, held up, but Bill Summers says to strike anyway. And it's a 2-2 count on Gordon. And now Bill Summers indicates that Gordon broke his wrists. In other words, he swung around enough for it to be called a strike. It was a high fastball. And it's a 2-2 count. You got Larry Doby on second. Lou Boudreau on first. 1 out, top half of the first inning, 6th game of the World Series. Bill Boiselle ready with the stretch, looks back at second base. Here's the pitch. Joe Gordon swings and fouls it back to the screen. Count remains 2-2. Gordon guarding that plate very closely. And that time he wasn't flailing away for any great distance. He was just trying to meet the ball. Doesn't want to strike out if he can help it. Of course, if he sees something that comes in there pretty fat, he might tee off on it. All right, Boiselle is ready with the stretch. Doby leads off second, Boudreau off first. Here's the pitch. Joe Gordon swings and lines one deep to left field. Going back is Rickard. He makes the catch of the line drive. And the runners have to hustle back to their respective bases. Doby to second and Boudreau to first. Joe Gordon plastered a liner to deep left, but Marv Rickard was right back there deep to take it. So with two down, up comes Kenny Keltner. Keltner, right-hand batter. Boiselle looks in to get that sign from Bill Salkeld. The outfield and infield setup is the same for Keltner as it was for Gordon. They're both extreme full hitters, although occasionally they might blast one to right. Bill Boiselle ready. Doby leads off second, Boudreau off first. Here's the pitch. Keltner takes a hook that's inside for a ball. Kenny Keltner, who's had only one hit in this series, 1 out of 17. He got that hit in the first ball game. First time up. He's been 0 for 16 since. Now the pitch. Keltner swings and he misses. Cut hard, slashed hard at a fastball. Joe Gordon, incidentally, had 3 out of 18 before he went out. Boudreau had 5 out of 19 before he was hit by a pitched ball. We gave you Doby's record before. Now the delivery. Keltner swings and he misses as Bill Boiselle fired it by him. And the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes on Keltner. So we've got a dramatic moment here in the top half of the first inning. Kenny Keltner standing deep in the batter's box, in close to the plate, slightly open stance. Larry Doby, fleet of foot, boy from Patterson, New Jersey, on second base. Lou Boudreau on first. Here's your pitch. Swung on, little ground ball, hit out toward short. Dark up with it, plays it over to Torgerson at first, in time for the out. And so Bill Boiselle pitched himself out of the jam. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 2 men left on base. At the end of the first half of the first inning, the score, Cleveland nothing, Boston nothing. Guesswork doesn't go in laying out a baseball diamond. The distance between bases must be exactly 90 feet between the pitcher's box and home plate, 60 feet 6 inches. No more, no less. But talking about exactness, today's Gillette Blue Blade is made to the closest limits of accuracy known to the industry. For instance, the positioning slot in the middle of the blade is precisely centered. When you tighten the holder, the Gillette Blue Blade lines up absolutely parallel with the razor guard, extends just the correct distance for smooth, easy shaving. Thus, you have a perfectly matched shaving instrument that glides through beard with light, gentle strokes. Ask for Gillette Blue Blades, 5 for a quarter, or get a handy 20-blade Gillette dispenser for 98 cents. Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. Coming into the last half of the first inning, Bob Lemon on the hill for the Cleveland Indians, and he'll be facing Tommy Holmes, Al Dark, and Earl Torgerson. Incidentally, a sidelight about Kenny Keltner and a possible reason for his not hitting better in the series. Cy Johnson, Braves coach, was with Keltner in the Navy. Played some ball with him together, with Kenny. They played ball together, and he got the Braves pitchers pretty well briefed on whatever weaknesses Keltner may have at bat. Here's a little bumblebee right in front of the microphone. Get out of there. All right, we're ready. Tommy Holmes up, left-hand batter, takes outside from Bob Lemon. Ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. Last half of the first inning. Tommy Holmes has had 3 hits in the World Series and 21 times at bat for a series average of 183. One of his hits, though, was most productive. It won the first game. Bob Lemon throws. Holmes swings, sends a little dribble right to the mound. Taken by Lemon on 2 hops. Throws on over to Eddie Robinson, and Holmes is out. Pitcher to the first baseman. Lemon to Robinson. And thus, Bob Lemon starts out today, just as he did the other day, in his first starting effort, when he had so many chances.
Number 2, shortstop.
And Holmes, incidentally, bounced out to Lemon 3 times in the game that Bob started here at Braves Field. So Holmes starts out in the same fashion himself. Now Al Dark, a right-hand hitter up, looks at a fastball that's inside, about letter high, ball 1. Al Dark has had 3 out of 20, hitting at 150 in the series. He has quite a spread. His feet wide apart, not too close to the plate. Outfield toward left. Here's your pitch. And it's outside now for ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes. Two nothing the count. Here's your pitch. Swung on and fouled off. Back of first base, out of play, into the lower stands. 2 balls, 1 strike count on Al Dark. 1 out, last half of the first inning, 6th game of the World Series, with the Cleveland Indians still needing but 1 victory to end it all, and the Boston Braves still battling to send it out to its full extent of 7 games. Bill Summers, the plate umpire, decides to dust off the plate. Bill Steer of the National League umpiring at first base. Billy Grieve of the American League at second. George Barr of the National League at third. Babe Pinelli, National League alternate, stationed down the left field line, and Joe Paparella, American League alternate, stationed down the right field line. Now the pitch is bunted down the third base line. There's Lemon over up with it. The throw, not in time, beaten out. The throw gets away from Robinson, but backing up is Joe Gordon. And Al Dark is on, beating out a bunt. It's a base hit for Al Dark as he makes use of his great speed, lays down a beautiful bunt down the third base line and beat it out. Bob Lemon calls time, stands in behind the mound now, takes a white handkerchief out of his hip pocket and dries off his pitching hand. Got to give Lemon a lot of credit on that play. He dashed over that line in a hurry, grabbed the ball with his bare hand and flipped while off balance, but was unable to get the ball over there ahead of the speedy Alvin Dark. Lou Boudreau out at short, motions out to Dale Mitchell to move over a step or two toward the left field line. He's way over toward left center as Earl Torgeson steps to the plate. Torgeson, a left-hand batter, has had 6 out of 14 in the series. He hits a long ball. 1 down, 1 on, last half, first inning, no score. Here's your pitch, swung on. It's a fly ball, hit out into short right center. Here's Doby racing in, and Tucker makes the catch, and there's a throw to first base, and it's a double play. They double up. Alvin Dark, as Earl Torgeson's fly ball to right center faded, Larry Doby started racing in, and Tucker came over from center, and it was Tucker who finally made the catch. Al Dark thought the ball was going to drop for a Texas League single and was doubled up trying to get back to first. Tucker to Torgeson. Or Tucker to Robinson. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and nobody left on. That was a nice play by Thurman Tucker. And that's the 6th double play that the Cleveland Indians have come up with in the series. Thurman Tucker came a long way to get that ball. He's very fast. It was obvious that Doby wouldn't get to it in time, and Tucker came from nowhere to get it. Alvin Dark had all the reason in the world to think he was doubled off at first base on a nice throw from Tucker to Eddie Robinson. So at the end of 1 inning of play, it's 0-0. We're ready now to move into the top half of the second with Thurman Tucker leading off. And as so often happens, when a man makes a nice fielding play in the field, he's the first man at bat coming up in the next inning. Takes a pitch outside for ball 1. Tucker bats him left-handed. He hasn't seen any service in this World Series. Here's the pitch. Swung on, popped up in the air, foul off to the left of the plate. Bob Elliott moves away from third base under it, makes the catch about 20 feet off the third base line in foul territory, and there's 1 away. Now coming to bat is Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson bats him left-handed, Indians first baseman. Bill Boiselle into the windup. Around comes the right arm, the pitch. Swung on, lined right out to Eddie Stanky at second base for out number 2. Robinson lines to Stanky. So with 2 down, up comes Jim Hegan. Robinson had had 4 out of 16 in the series. Now Jim Hegan, 3 out of 15. Gets a ripple of applause from the fans here in Boston because he is a native of Massachusetts, a boy from Lynn, right-hand hitter. Boiselle throws, fastball is in there for a called strike. Outfield swung around toward left for Jim. Infield shaded around toward third. Boiselle delivers. Curve that swung on, lined over the head of Elliott down the left field line for a base hit. There's Rickard up with the ball in a couple of hops, whips his throw into second, and Hegan goes back to first after taking his turn with a single to left field. That's the second hit off Boiselle. Jim Hegan's the boy that almost won the ball game for the Indians yesterday and the World Series, and a victory for Feller when he hit a home run with 2 on to put the Indians ahead. However, the Braves came slashing back with that big 7th inning to win. Now here's Bob Lemon stepping up. He's a left-hand hitter and a good hitter for a pitcher. The delivery, swung on, popped foul, back of first. Going over for it is Earl Torgerson right at the edge of the stands. He leans in, jumps on top of the dugout, but can't make the catch. But what a great try. Torgerson sort of jumped onto the Indians' dugout trying to catch that one. Certainly gave it a great try. 1 strike to count on Bob Lemon. Lemon was hitless and 4 times at bat. Boiselle with a stretch, checks his runner. Here's the pitch. Lemon swings and sends a long fly ball into left center field. Marv Rickert races back under it, makes the catch. That's all for Cleveland, top of the second. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and 1 man left on. The score at the end of an inning and a half: Cleveland nothing, Boston nothing. Ray Scarborough, well-known pitcher for the Washington Senators, is watching today's game with us. Hear what he has to say about the convenience of the new Gillette Blue Blade dispenser. Come in, Ray.
I'm glad to recommend the Gillette dispenser to you fans, for it's the handiest thing I've come across in a long time. My beard is tough, and I change blades frequently. But with the dispenser, that's no trouble at all.
Now, folks, that was Ray Scarborough. Next time you buy Gillette Blue Blades, take his advice. Ask for them in the handy Gillette dispenser. It comes loaded with 20 blades, 40 shaving edges, for the price of the blades alone. 98 cents here and $1 in Canada. Look sharp, feel sharp, be sharp. Use Gillette Blue Blades with the sharpest edges ever honed. That round of applause greets the appearance at the plate for the Boston Braves in the last half of the second inning, Bob Elliott. Elliott's the lad who hit 2 home runs yesterday, who sparked the Braves to their comeback victory over the Cleveland Indians to prolong the series to at least the 6th game and a return to Braves Field here in Boston. Elliott, a right-hand hitter, now has a batting average in the series of 4 out of 18. That's .222, but he has driven in 5 runs. That's more runs than anyone else has driven in the series. Jimmy Hegan, for the Indians, has driven in 4. Takes second place in the RBI department. It'll be Bob Elliott, Marv Rickert, and Bill Salkeld facing Bob Lemon. Lemon, a right-hander, faced the Braves in the second game of the World Series and beat them 4-1. Let the Braves have 8 hits, but he scattered them very nicely. Bob Lemon all set. All set to pitch to Bob Elliott. The right-hander throws. Elliott swings and sends a bounder down the third base line. Charged nicely by Kenny Keltner. His throw over to first, and the ball is dropped. It's dropped by Robinson, and Elliott is safe. On that play, the ball charged by Keltner. The ball twisted off to Kenny's right just as he was ready to receive it, but he grabbed it anyway. His throw was on the home plate side of first base. Robinson had to stretch to get it as Elliott was bearing down on him, and Ed sort of slapped at the ball and couldn't hang on to it. Now coming up to bat is Marv Rickert. There's Balk as Elliott took his lead off first. Bob Lemon with the stretch started to throw to first base, and Eddie Robinson wasn't there. He was in behind the runner, so Bob Lemon was afraid of throwing the ball away, and as a result, he's charged with a balk, and that enables Bob Elliott to go down to second. Now, they have ruled Elliott is to be credited with a base hit and no error on that previous play. There's a pitch that's low outside now to Marv Rickert for ball 1. So as we saw and described for you, that ball took a peculiar twist on Keltner at the last second. He had to evidently hurry his throw, and the official scorer gave Elliott a base hit, and he goes to second on the balk. Now the pitch to Rickert. Swung on and fouled off at the plate. Strike one. They've given Elliott credit for a base hit rather than charge anyone with an error. Bob Lemon has come into the plate to talk to Jim Hegan. Now he's walking back out to the mound. The balk that Bob Lemon committed is one that will occasionally arise and not be the fault particularly of anyone. Lemon and Robinson didn't get together on their sign as to whether Robinson will be holding against the runner or playing in behind him. So as Lemon started to lob over to first, he saw Robinson playing in behind the runner and had nowhere to throw it. All right, the stretch by Bob, the pitch. It swung on. There's a drive to deep center. But Tuck going back for it, and Mike McCormick makes the catch. Rather, Tucker makes the catch for the out. Racing to third after the catch is Elliott. As the throw is cut off by Lou Boudreau. Marv Rickert lined that ball to deep center. Thurman Tucker went back and grabbed it for the out. The ball was hit so deeply that Elliott was unable to tag up and go to third after the catch. Now Bill Salkeld steps in. Salkeld, the left-hand batter. Lou Boudreau motions out to Thurman Tucker to come in a step or two. Motions over to Larry Doby, who's playing right field today, to move in a step. The infield is laying in, hoping to cut the run off the plate if the opportunity should present itself. Bill Salkeld, the batter, left-hand hitter. Bob Lemon throws a pitch that swung on a little roller down the first base line. It's fielded by Robinson, who steps on first to retire Salkeld, and Elliott holds third. Salkeld grounds out to Robinson unassisted, with Elliott holding third. So they're two down. And now Lou Boudreau comes over to the mound to talk to Bobby Lemon.
31, center fielder.
Coming to the plate is Mike McCormick. Mike McCormick, the right-hand batter. Infield goes back in normal position. Outfield step round toward left. Lemon looks in to get his sign. Starts the windup. In comes the pitch. Swung on. So the roller hit slowly down toward third. Keltner charges it. Flips over to Robinson in time for the out. And the Boston Braves failed to score in the last half of the second inning, though they threatened. No runs, one hit. No errors, and one man left on base. And the score at the end of 2 innings of play is 0-0. Bob Elliott was credited with the base hit on his tricky roller that Keltner charged, fielded, threw to first base on. The ball was dropped by Eddie Robinson, but in the judgment of the official scorer, it was a tough play, and they gave Elliott credit for a base hit. Then Lemon balked. Elliott went to second. Rickard's long liner to deep center, gathered in by Tucker, was deep enough to enable Elliott to tag up second, go to third after the catch. Then Elliott held third as Bill Salkeld's little dribbler down the first baseline was handled by Eddie Robinson unassisted, and Mike McCormick entered the inning grounding out, third to first. Let's pause 10 seconds now for station identification. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
The La Rosa Hollywood Theater of Stars will be heard at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon over WOR New York.
Going into the top half of the third inning, it'll be Dale Mitchell leading off for the Cleveland Indians as we go to the top of the order. Dale Mitchell, Larry Doby, and Lou Boudreau. Mitchell flied to center field in the first inning. Bill Boiselle, the right-hander, throws. Mitchell swings and lines one down the left field line for a base hit. Maybe for extra bases. Rickard chasing the ball. Mitchell rounds first, digs for second. Here's the throw. It's in toward third, and Mitchell goes into second, standing up with a double. Dale Mitchell lines a double into the left field corner for the third base hit for the Cleveland Indians off Bill Boiselle. And for Dale Mitchell, that's his fourth World Series hit and his second extra base hit. He had a home run, and now he's got a double. That brings to the plate Larry Doby, who singled to left in the first inning. Left-hand batter, the pitch to him is swung on. There's a long fly ball to deep left field. Rickard goes back toward the fence and makes the catch for the out. And there is Mitchell tagging up, bluffing a dash to third, and Torgerson went all the way down from first base to back up second in the event there was a throw in that direction. In other words, he was sneaking in behind Mitchell, but Dale's ear caught the voice of Bill McKechnie coaching at third base, yelling to him to get back, and he did. So Larry Doby's long drive deep into left field is caught by Rickard, just about 5 feet away from the left field fence for the first out in the top of the third. Manager Lou Boudreau is up, hit by a pitched ball in the first inning. Bill Boiselle throws. The pitch is swung on, hit out into right field. Racing over is Tommy Holmes, and he dropped the ball. Now Mitchell digs for third. He rounds it on his way to the plate. He goes in to score, and on at second base is Lou Boudreau, as Lou sliced one into right field, and Tommy Holmes raced over, got his glove on the ball, and then dropped it. Mitchell was racing toward third, had to hold up, thinking that Holmes would get the ball, and then when he dropped it, Bill McKechnie waved him on. It scored as a double for Lou Boudreau. Into the right field sector, a run batted in for Lou. Mitchell scores, and for Boudreau, that is his fourth double of the series, and his third run batted in. The Indians now lead 1-0. Joe Gordon up. Gordon takes a high fastball. Ball one. 1-0 favored Cleveland. Top half the third inning, one down. Lou Boudreau leading off second. Bill Boiselle throws. Joe Gordon looks at a fastball that's inside. Ball two. What a great player that Lou Boudreau is. He is really tremendous. Activity in the Braves bullpen. You've got Red Barrett and Vern Bickford, two right-handers throwing. Bill Boiselle delivers to Joe Gordon. Curveball stays high. Ball three. 3 balls, no strikes. Bill Salkeld fires the ball back out to Boiselle. Outfield pulled way around toward left. Boudreau leads off second. Here's your pitch. Gordon takes a strike call. That 3-0 pitch is right in there. Gordon taken all the way. So it's a 3-1 count on the flash. Gordon flied to left field in the first inning. Lou Boudreau takes his lead off second. Stanky tries to dance in behind him, pull him back to the bag. Here's the pitch. Swung on by Gordon, popped high into the air toward third. Bob Elliott under it, right at the bag. He moves over into foul territory, makes the catch in foul territory. And they're 2 away. Gordon fouls out to Elliott, about a foot outside the third base bag. Now with 2 down, up comes Kenny Keltner. Keltner was tossed out by Al Dark in the first inning. Right-hand hitter stands deep in the batter's box, in close to the plate. Slightly open stance. Pull hitter, outfield toward left. Eddie Stanky just about 2 strides to the right of second as we look out onto the field. Here's the pitch, and it's a high fastball. Ball one. Bob Elliott laying deep at third, close to the line, or as they say in New England, Elliott. 1 ball, no strikes. And the pitch. Swung on it, missed strike one, and how that Keltner did take a cut at that one. He was really slashing. I'll say one thing for Keltner. If Boiselle should happen to give him something on the outside that Keltner can get hold of, he's got an entire county to hit it into in the right field sector. Now the pitch. Keltner swings and fouls it off at the plate. Strike 2, 1-2. Of course, Keltner's primarily a pull hitter. But every once in a while, you'll find these extreme pull hitters shifting their feet if they get the type of pitch they figure they can work it on and hitting to the opposite field. Now, you've got, for example, Tommy Holmes playing almost straightaway center field. He's not more than 3 strides to the right of a straightaway center field position, and he's the right fielder. And Rickard way over on the left field line. Now the pitch to Keltner. Swung on it, missed strike 3. So the Cleveland Indians come up with 1 run, 2 hits, no errors for the Braves, 1 left on for Cleveland. Doubles by Mitchell and Boudreau, leading to the score. And at the end of 2.5 innings, the score is Cleveland 1, Braves nothing.